and welcome to the channel. I'm Tami, your host of the Personal Growth Channel, where we talk all things to help you grow as a person. If you're new or returning, I just want to say thank you for being here with me today. This is a day I wanted to share with you because I just came to my 1 month vegan landmark. I have been completely meat, dairy, egg, fish, any kind of animal product free for 4 weeks now. And I'm going to have to tell you that I feel fabulous. I haven't felt this good in years. And not only do I feel good, I feel like I'm starting to look better. My skin is clearing up more. I've lost several inches around my waist and what have you. I'm getting into clothes I haven't gotten into in years. And, it's an exciting thing. It gives me the motivation to keep being healthy and eating a whole food plant-based diet. But anyway, I wanted to also share this with you, especially for you guys out there. I may be butchering this guy's last name, but do you know this man's, he's a former bodybuilder, strongman, and his name is Patrick Boubadian, if I'm pronouncing that correct. I may be butchering it. I apologize to him, anybody else, if I said that incorrectly. But he's from Germany, and he turned vegan, and he's a vegan activist. And I was watching one of his YouTube channel special, his video, where he documented why he went vegan. And, of course, the main reason for him was the animals, and we all have our reasons for going vegan. But one thing that struck me about his speech, what struck me, which was a similar string in my journey, was that he said that he was once, first he was a meat eater for years, then he went vegetarian, but he couldn't give up dairy products. He was a big milk and cheese eater, and especially when he was doing his bodybuilding to get where he thought his protein that he needed, he was actually ingesting even more milk and more cheese in his diet. But then he would get heartburn. He would have all this acid reflux. So he heard, well, to get rid of heartburn, you just drink more milk and it puts the fire out, per se, right? So this is what I grew up to believe too. In fact, how it's similar to me is, again, I was once a meat eater. I switched to being a vegetarian roughly 8 years ago. I couldn't give up the cheese. I was able to give up the milk, but I couldn't give up the cheese. And, I'd have yogurt every now and then. And that was my routine. Now, as I was growing up as a child, I would consume milk like it was going out of style. Like my dad literally had to pick up a gallon of milk from work every single day. My mother would call and say, hey, yo, she drank all the milk, you need to bring home more milk. And then of course our house was stocked with slices of American cheese, which I don't know why I was addicted to that as a kid, but my mom hardly ever bought the block cheese. She always bought the American cheese. So as I was growing up, I would be eating cereal 3 times a day, plus I'd be drinking a big giant glass of milk with every single meal. And then, my mom, she knew, but at night, before I went to bed, I would sneak like 2 or 3 slices of those wrapped cheeses, and I'd slip them, I'd hide them from her in my bedroom so that I can nibble on it before I went to bed. I can eat it before I went to bed. And this was my childhood growing up. And, as the years went on, like I said, I turned vegetarian, but I couldn't give up the dairy. I couldn't give up the cheese. So I thought, oh, well, then, what harm could that be, right? So I'm just going to keep consuming it. I was able to get away from the milk because I went to like either almond milk. Right now, my favorite is oat. Oat milk is very similar to regular milk. It's very good, very healthy. But the cheese was the big factor. And here I am, I was getting more plants in my diet. I gave up fast food. I, would have some kind of snack from the grocery store every now and then, but not all the time. But, and I'd exercise. I'd always go take a walk at least 3 to 4 times a week at 30 minutes a pop, right? So I thought I was in good shape and I was doing good. And then as the years went on, I started piling on more weight as a vegetarian, still exercising. And I thought to myself, okay, I know I'm getting older. Is it the midlife crisis or is it something I'm doing, right? Because my motto with me, I don't run to the doctor for every little thing. I try to listen to my own body and its signals, and what is it telling me? What am I doing wrong? What is it that my body is wanting to reject out of my system? So I started thinking, well, what am I eating? What am I drinking? Well, I'm not a soda drinker. I drink lots of water. I have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee every day, and that's it. And I'm not a big juice drinker. So the only thing I could think of in my diet was A, the dairy, the cheese, and B, sorry, it's my little basil plant. And B, I was also buying the vegan products, the processed, veggie burgers and processed veggie chicken patties, and I was consuming a lot of them. So I put two and two together and I said, wait a minute. These veggie burgers and chicken patties are processed. They're not actually whole food per se. Because, let's face it, they got to process it, they have to preserve it in some way to actually put it in the freezer case so it sits on the shelf until you or me or somebody comes along and buys it, right? So that's one thing. And then, of course, the cheese. And then, as I've done more research, dairy has more saturated fat per gram than any other thing you can possibly eat. And it's not just the dairy, the cheese, it's also any kind of animal product. And I thought, well, there it is. Duh. It's the cheese, it's the dairy, it's the processed foods. And then that led me down the road. What can I do to clean my diet up even more so that not only can I drop weight, but I can feel better? Because even as a vegetarian and eating dairy products, I still felt like I wasn't running on all 6 cylinders kind of thing. Like I was probably at a 4.5 or 5 every day, which was better than where I was before, but I wasn't at 6. I wasn't full throttle every day. But I said, you know what? I started looking up about vegans and, the whole spectrum of the animals and the environment and the food. And they said, really, a true vegan diet consists of whole foods. Whole food. Let's break this down. Whole foods is something that isn't from a package off the shelf of the grocery store, and it's not found in a fast food place. I don't care how fresh they claim their products are, they're not whole foods. Because let's face it, the grocery chains, all the food manufacturers, and all the fast food people out there are not making food for your health. They could give a crap about your health. They're in it for the profit. And they know that cheese is addicting. It's a known fact. You can look it up. There is a certain hormone that's found in cow's milk that actually, when a baby cow drinks the milk from the mother, it sends a happy signal, like an endorphin, what do you want to call it, an endorphin, that it makes the cow want to go back to the mom and drink. And that is a survival mechanism that was built in over centuries, that these cows know what to do. That's why they keep coming back for the mother's milk. And here we are ingesting cow secretion that's meant for a baby cow, and it's having the same effects on us. It's the same thing that's going into our bodies that's making us addicted to cheese or making us addicted to milk, yogurt, whatever it is. We keep going back to buy it. And the dairy industry knows this. That's why everything has cheese on it. You go to a fast food restaurant, everything's got cheese. You go to a regular restaurant, just about everything on the menu has cheese either in it or on it. You can't get away from it unless you ask them no cheese. So anyway, circling back, whole food is something like this. This is a natural basil plant, okay? This is basil. This isn't herb if you're not familiar. You just pick this leaf off and you can cook with it, or you can just go ahead and tear it up a little bit and put it on top of your food, and it adds such depth of flavor and the aroma, like, oh, it just smells wonderful. And of course, these are green onions. I just put them in a jar, and whenever I need some green onions, I just clip them off. See, just like that. Got a little more basil down in here, and I eat it. This is a whole food. This is a living plant. These are not processed foods. Come on, let's face it. If you're not eating whole plant-based foods, then you are a processed person. That's the bottom line. You are processed. You are ingesting what Mother Nature never meant for you to have in the first place. So you're probably thinking to yourself, okay, how do I peel myself away from cheese? Because you may be a big cheese eater too. You may be a person who thinks, you know what, I would love to go vegan. I could probably get away from the meat and not eat it, but how in the world am I going to not do without dairy? I don't get it. I don't know how I'm going to do without dairy. Well, I'm going to tell you something. I went at least 2 weeks, like I said, I've been on this for 4, within 2 weeks' time, getting away from dairy. My cravings have completely disappeared. In fact, I put that to the test, okay? I went out last weekend with my daughter, my family, and she wanted to go to a Greek restaurant. Okay, what are Greek restaurants known for? Feta cheese. They got feta cheese and they got goat cheese and everything. And one of my favorite things to eat when I went to a Greek restaurant was to get what's called the flaming cheese. So it's a thing of goat cheese. They light it on fire. It melts instantly on the plate. It's all ooey and gooey. And then they put the fire out with a squirt of lemon on top, right? Gives it such great flavor. And then you take the pita bread and you immediately scoop up the cheese and eat it, right? My big catalyst. Well, I didn't care if my kids ordered it. You know, my son loved it. I was like, go ahead, you just do you. I'm going to do me. Do you know that when that cheese came out, I didn't even want it? I looked at it and I was like, well, I know what that tastes like. I've had it a million times before. I don't want it today. So I looked for other alternatives on the menu, such as a nice bean vegetable soup that they made, which was good. No cheese in it. They had a pasta meal on there that you can get just with marinara sauce. No cheese. And you know, it was so funny, like when I told the waiter, let me just have your pasta marinara, and it says you can add meat to it. He goes, did you say you wanted that with the chicken? And I was like, no. They automatically assume that everybody wants meat and cheese in and on everything that they serve. So when you tell them no, it sort of takes them by surprise, and they're like, what? And I have to spell it out. I said, no animal, no meat. Actually, I said no meat and no cheese, period. And he's like, okay. And I had a nice glass of wine and I was satisfied. So anyway, make a long story short, and I know this has been long, you can get away from dairy. And not only can you get away from the cow's milk dairy, you can also make your own vegan cheese. I have just dived into the world of that, and I've been you use your processor, your blender, and you use certain ingredients that actually mimics the creaminess and the elasticity and the taste of the cheese, but there's no dairy milk in it. So it's almost like you can have your cake and eat it too, kind of thing. Yeah. Anyway, I just want to give you some encouragement. I hope you found this little story helpful, that, you can get away from what they call the pleasure trap. It's not just the dairy, but it's the sugar, the oil, and the salt that they have you trapped in. Because like I said, they're not out there for your health. You got to pay attention to what you're putting in your mouth. You have to take control of your own health. Because if you don't, who will? Thank you for watching. Please share, like, and subscribe. Give me a big thumbs up. Drop me a comment. Are you vegan? Are you thinking about going vegan? How do you feel about giving up dairy? I want to know. The comments down below. As always, take care of yourself. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.